Should you drop Aaron Rodgers?
Yeah. I think we're at the point where you can comfortably say, because we brought this up, a few weeks ago. And I was like, man, hold off on it. Hold
Right.
off on it. Not much has changed. And we're going into week 7, and the Packers offense looks just as rough as they have all year. So, yeah, I think you could drop them and look at guys that are possibly sitting on the waiver wire. I mean, we don't know how long Carson Wentz is going to be out. But honestly, Taylor Heinecke is not a bad get. The last, 2 years before this year, Heinecke was either fully the starter or, playing in some sort of capacity, and he's not bad. I want to point out, we haven't seen much out of Terry McLaurin so far this year.
Oh.
With Taylor Heinecke coming in, expect McLaurin to start ticking back up fantasy lineups. I think that's going to be big for him. But yeah, I think it's time where you can give up on Aaron Rodgers. And I don't want anybody coming at me when they drop Aaron Rodgers and then he pulls off something crazy this last half of the season. But yeah, I think you're fine dropping him for right now.
Yeah, I mean, he's quarterback 20, like yikes. He does have the Commanders this week. But yeah, let's put our money where our mouth is here. Would you rather have Aaron Rodgers this week or Russell Wilson?
Ugh. Shit. Give me. That's okay. Tough. I just said drop Aaron Rodgers, but if Russell Wilson's your other option, drop Russell Wilson. I'd rather have Rodgers. The potential is much higher for Denver. It's just not happening. I mean, we had a pretty decent half out of Russell Wilson this past week, and then they just stopped doing what worked. So I just don't trust that coaching staff to actually let Russ be Russ in an offense.
Matt Ryan, Jacoby Brissett, Mariota, all starts over Rodgers?
Yeah. Yep, I would take all of those guys over Rodgers. Brissett, I know they just paid Deshaun Watson a shitload of money, but let's be honest, that guy's not playing too bad.
He's capable.
And he's doing all right. Mariota, how about Mariota? He was in my Good Samaritans on my fantasy show this week. He only had 129 pass yards, but he had 3 touchdowns, finished as a quarterback 5. So why not?
Yeah.
I mean, can you expect that every week? I don't think so, but at least we've seen more out of Mariota in one game than we have out of Rodgers for the whole. Right. And like I said, I don't mind Alec Pierce.
I like Pierce.
He's been becoming more of a guy getting targets in that offense. Mm-hmm. So if they get it figured out like they kind of did last week, I don't mind it.
And I got to change my fantasy name to Pierced Nips. All right, so we're all good. It was either that or Hall Pass.
I like it.
Would you? So we don't do kickers in this league. We have 2 flexes. Okay. Would you start J.D. McKissick or Nico Collins?
Nico Collins. So I've been a guy that's had Brandon Cooks most of the year.
Yeah.
Nico Collins is a guy, anytime I see his name pop up, I get pissed off. So honestly, I'd start Nico Collins. He gets, somewhere in the neighborhood of 5 targets a game, which is fairly low, but sometimes they're money targets. They're, 20, 25-yard plays. So I'd rather take that than hope J.D. McKissick even gets on the field.
Yeah, that's a good point. I might have to do that. Would you rather have Travis Etienne Jr. or James Robinson going forward?
I mean, what have we seen out of Etienne so far this year? Is my only thing. I mean, I know James Robinson's been on a couple of down weeks, but as he goes, the Jaguars go, in my opinion. So he had some great weeks to start the year. They've been on a downslide. He's been not doing so hot. I think they need to turn back to him a little more, and they'll start being successful. So if they see that, he's going to be really good. So I'd rather have James Robinson because I don't know why they even drafted Travis Etienne.
Any worry? I know you talked about him briefly. Any worry about starting Swift this week if he's going to play?
So I do a love and hate list with my fantasy show as well. guess who made the hate list for my running back position?
DeAndre.
Deandre Swift. Going up against Dallas, that's just a tough matchup
Right.
anyway. Coming
Right.
off his injuries, it's tough because Dallas, they only allow 13 points to a running back per game. They've only had 2 running backs finish inside the top 15 on them, and they give up the average of running back 22. So it's a tough matchup. I think you still got to start him,
Right.
but you just got to hope and pray he gets into the top 20 at least, because I think that's all the more ceiling you can expect this week. Or he could be the guy that gets 10 catches out of the backfield.
Yep.
And at least you're cashing in that way. But it's going to be a tough week coming off injury against a tough defense. So if you can swerve, try to swerve. But I think you're stuck keeping him in your lineup anyway. You just got to plug and pray.
And last one for the running backs here. Any worry that if Damian Harris plays, it rains on Ramondre's parade, or is it his backfield?
Even so, if we look at when Harris has played,
Yeah,
Stevenson is still pretty dang good.
sure.
And let's look at the history of the Patriots. It's gonna be not just Ramondre. If Harris is in, he's gonna be in there, possibly stealing a touchdown or so. But I still think Ramondre is going to get a lot of rushing yards. He's just a guy that does not go down on first contact. He'll average about 5 yards a carry.
Yeah.
So, throw a couple catches in there, at the very least 50 yards, couple catches. I mean, he's sitting at least 10 for a baseline, and then anything over that, you're going to be happy with. Is it going to be the 19, the 25 point performance? Possibly not, but I don't see that being out of the realm of possibilities. So I don't think you worry that much about Ramondre this week.
Let's talk receivers now. We've got Amon-Ra St. Brown coming back from injury, coming back from the bye. He's at Dallas. Is he going to get Trevon Diggs? Again, we've talked about that rush defense, just overall defense. They're all right. Yeah, about middle of the pack, I guess, to receivers. But any worry with Amon-Ra? And then I had another one here. Oh, yeah. What are we doing with these two guys? Is Brown a must start? And then what do we do with Christian Kirk? A couple down weeks. And then he just had 10. He's still projected 12. Giants have been the best defense against receivers all of a sudden.
Right. You'll have to remind me of the other two names after I talk about Amon-Ra.
Yeah.
I love the guy. But he's on my sit list this week.
Okay.
The injuries are just tough. I think he's going to continue to play the whole game, but like you said, could be shadowed by Diggs. If Dallas is smart, which I think their defense is, and their defensive coordinator is, he's going to get doubled. They're going to at least have somebody sitting over top of him for most of the game. And he's had 2 straight performances under 15 points. So it's, again, like Swift, it's a tough matchup, and I think you're still going to plug him in and play him. You just got to, again, hope that he possibly just gets a bunch of targets and gets maybe 10 catches to at least give you that baseline.
Sorry, just on that note, while we're on the Lions, I've seen mixed reviews on Josh Reynolds that his stock might be dropping since Brown is back. Is there maybe you squeeze another week out of Reynolds if you're in a kind of a spot where you need to get at least somebody in the flex?
I mean, possibly, because the attention's going to go Amon-Ra St. Brown, TJ Hawkinson. So that leaves not a lot of attention for Josh Reynolds. He could be a sneaky play this week.
Right.
And, if those other 2 guys are covered up, Reynolds is more than likely going to be somewhere in single coverage or just sitting in the middle of a zone that no one's in. So he could be a sneaky play. And especially if you're in a pinch, say you've got Diggs, Brown, Jefferson, Kupp. I think he's somebody you could plug in, and it's another plug and pray, but
yeah,
there's the possibility that he gets you a bigger week than you expect, at least.
Yeah, he's been a pleasant surprise. It's going to be a plug and pray type of week, I think, for many teams. All right, so let's throw Christian Kirk into this. So I'm going to give you 4 receivers. You're going to pick 2 to start. We've got Christian Kirk, Juju Smith-Schuster, Scary Terry, or Deontay Johnson? 2 out
I
of
think
those
you,
4.
I think you go with Scary Terry and Deontay Johnson.
Okay.
Again, just the
Trubisky,
quarterback
right.
situations help both of those two guys. We haven't seen a lot of out of McLaurin, but with Taylor Heinecke, we've seen what McLaurin can do. I think
Yep.
that translates into this week. So I think McLaurin is going to be on a higher uptick than everybody else in that offense. Uh, Possibly a top 15 week out of him for the first time this season. And then Johnson, he's a guy that he's a target hog, and Trubisky knows that, and Trubisky's going to try to get him the ball. So I like those two much better than Christian Kirk, who had 1-2 good games
Sure.
in an offense that's really struggling. I mean, Trevor Lawrence finally kind of got back on the horse last week, but now he's going up against the Giants. It's going to be a tough matchup there. And Juju hasn't been good since like his rookie year in Pittsburgh. So I've been completely off of Juju.
He finally had a good game. Again, it was poor tackling and kind of I talked about on your show, the Jamar Chase syndrome, where it was like 50 yards and a touchdown off of poor tackling added to that.
Yeah, not a fan.
Sure. True or false, you should drop every single Jets receiver.
I just shit on Zach Wilson. So, I think guys like, we're at the point where,
We're at that
pretty much you're going to have to quit on them because you're like me. I had a couple of them. I had Garrett Wilson and I had, Tyler Conklin at tight end, and you got to move on from those now because they're seeming to be a run heavy team and they can put up points just running the football. So they're going to pass scarcely as they have been for the past couple of weeks. I'm at the point where I'm like, fuck, just put Joe Flacco back in. You were doing okay with him, and
but they're winning with
Wilson.
Wilson. Yeah, so, fantasy managers want Flacco. Yeah. I guess Breece Hall doesn't want Flacco, but
I would steer away from all of those guys.
I've been, Wilson had the 30-point game. I've been holding on to him since he was on my bench and he got the 30-point game. I think I started him next week. Dud. I just dropped him in every league I had him. I just can't do it, which is a shame because all the other receivers in this rookie class seem to be doing well and fantasy relevant.
Right. Yeah. And even if I was to sit here and try to be like, okay, this is the one you want to hold on to, they don't really have that one you want to hold on to. So it's kind of tough, but yeah, I think you're going to have to start moving away from those.
Tight end, got to get creative. If you have Dallas Goedert, if you have Tyler Higbee. So 3 guys available in my deepest league, pick one of them to stream. Mike Gesicki, Will Dissly, or Daniel Bellinger of the Giants.
Mike Gesicki was sitting on my bench last week. If anybody cares,
he does this every year, right? Garbage time. He has like a random game with, when receivers go out, that's when he's pertinent.
I'd probably have to stick with Gesicki there. With Tua coming back, I'm expecting sort of an air raid to start coming. So maybe he gets in there for 3 catches. Hopefully one of them's maybe a touchdown. That's about all you can hope out of that. Who was the second guy? Will Dissly?
Yep.
Well, I'm putting Will Dissly into my DFS lineup, so you never know. He's a guy that doesn't get anything, or he'll get you a touchdown. So
like every tight end,
very very dependent there. But I think Gesicki's got the higher floor out of the 3.